Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Those of you that have been around the Tesla story for some time might remember the name Jon McNeill. He was the president of Tesla's global sales operations back in the late 2010s. And this week, he just said the upcoming Roadster demonstration could showcase more than a hovering sports car. Now, I still have my doubts we see that demo in August, as some are still saying. But speaking of the demo, Jon said, I don't know if we're going to see flying, but we may see hovering in this demo. More importantly, he suggested the SpaceX collaboration may serve a broader purpose, calling it probably a not-so-hidden attempt to further knit Tesla and SpaceX's futures together. Honestly though, given how niche of a product this is going to be relative to Tesla's overall business and SpaceX indirectly, I would argue they wouldn't even need this collaboration to already be incredibly close-knit into the future. But Jon's main takeaway, these two businesses, Tesla and SpaceX, are going to come together probably sooner rather than later. The word is this Roadster demo could debut at SpaceX's testing facility in McGregor, Texas. It would use a SpaceX-developed cold gas thruster system codenamed A71 to hover, but they're saying because of the extreme noise, the car may be remotely operated without a passenger while spectators remain hundreds of yards away. But can somebody please explain to me why they would ever do that? This is meant to be the last great driver's car, meaning someone's supposed to be in the vehicle driving a steering wheel. This is the last swan song, if you will, of a car with a wheel for Tesla. So that part makes zero sense to me, but hopefully we find out sooner rather than later. But again, most importantly, when you have former Tesla presidents coming out publicly and saying that these two businesses are going to merge sooner rather than later, it's just part of why I'm starting this little merger series so everybody can be informed for the vote. There were a lot of people getting excited yesterday because of some new filings coming out of Texas from Tesla for a new charging hub that is set to begin construction September 7th with a completion date of January 18th next year. And we'll come back to that completion date in a second. And the main reason so many were excited, in the keynotes, point 3, it said there will be 2 V4 charging cabinets to support 80 wireless chargers in phase 2. A few things. I think it's important to note that phase 1 is expected to have a completion date of January next year, which could mean that phase 2 wouldn't start until sometime in Q1 next year. However, Marco, who goes further into the weeds with these supercharger locations than anybody else, including myself, said the statement saying Tesla would install 2 V4 cabinets for 80 wireless pads seems to have been an error on the design firm's end. His reason, the circled number 3 seems to be pointing towards every V3 cabinet pair, which are already tied to 4 chargers each. And further, looking at the equipment in the filing, you'll see supercharger cabinets are version 3.5, not V4, and there will be 12 of those 3.5s. And we know each V35 cabinet can support 4 charging posts, which is exactly why they list V4 posts in the quantity of 48. And once again, for phase 1, we don't see anything about wireless charging. And to confirm what Marco was saying, here is the drawing, and you will see these small colored in gray rectangles. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So it appears as though Marco is correct, at least for phase 1, the 12 cabinets shown here will be dedicated for the initial 48 charging posts. And going back to the keynotes, it's circle 3 that's only supposed to be calling out 2 V4 charging cabinets, whereas that key number 3 is currently shown for all 12 of these cabinets. And we know Tesla's true V4 cabinets can do up to 1.2 megawatts each, and they each support 8 charging posts. But if we assume the wireless charging pads do around 25 kilowatts, that makes perfect sense. 80 pads times 25 kilowatts each is 2 megawatts, which allows for a bit of headroom. So Tesla only needing 2 true V4 cabinets for around 80 wireless charging pads, of course, checks out. So in my opinion, I believe we might see these wireless charging pads in phase 2, but that won't likely be until sometime Q1 next year. And one other interesting thing to point out, for the service intent, it says Tesla will operate an automobile robo-car car wash and charging parking lot. So not just a charging hub, but a car wash as well. And here's this location on Google Maps, right across the street from Tesla's St. Elmo location. Last thing I want to say, there are people out there trying to run the math about how many Cybercab Cybercabs could operate on these 80 wireless charging pads. And then they're using that to say, see, we're gonna have thousands of Cybercabs here in the next few months. First of all, that leaves out the fact these likely won't be online until, again, late Q1 next year. And two, of course, Tesla's going to be future-proofing to some degree. So just because Tesla's building out an infrastructure of X size does not mean we're going to see X number of Cybercabs on the road in the near term. Fun fact about me, right now I'm helping to build a solar farm in Baltimore. Now, I'll say sort of because I'm not on site with power tools, but I am helping to fund the construction of this project through the sponsor of this video, Climatize. Climatize is a platform that lets you put money directly into a specific real renewable energy project. And what's great is you can track projects and follow the updates on construction. It could be a solar array on a farm, battery storage for an auto shop, EV chargers going into a community, and so on. And what's so cool about this platform and why I'm happy to support it is because usually this type of financing is walled off for banks and institutions. And with a $10 minimum, anyone 18 and over with a US bank account is eligible. It's an official US-based platform registered with the SEC as a funding portal and a FINRA member. Every project is filed under SEC regulation crowdfunding, so before you commit $1, you get the full offering documents to dig through. And if you watch this channel, I think that's exactly how you should be operating anyway. Now, like any investment, these carry risk. You can lose principal and you're in the note until it matures. So DYOR, read the offering docs and only put in what fits your objectives. So it should go without saying, but this is not financial advice. To date, the projects hosted on Climatize have returned a total of over $5 million to its investors. So that's not a promise or a guarantee of future results, but it is a track record. So for Electrified viewers, you can go to climatize.earth/electrified linked below. Use code Dylan, and when you successfully complete your profile, you'll get $50 in investment credit toward your first project. Terms apply, but the link and the code will be in the description below. Edmunds had a glowing review of their range test for the Model Y L. I just wanted to highlight they did it at an average speed of 40 miles per hour. And that's with a 40% highway split. But it's true, of all Model Ys they have tested so far, the Model Y L went the furthest at 358 miles, 38 miles further than the EPA range estimate. So despite the YL being 300 pounds heavier than the Model Y long range launch series, and despite the fact it makes more power borrowing the rear motor from the Model Y Performance, because of things like the coefficient of drag being down at 0.216, and because of the improved thermal management, not just for the battery and the motors, but for things like the glass roof, allowing in 30% less solar energy than before, and because the battery pack is bigger given the longer wheelbase at around 83 kilowatt hours. As long as you know the limitations of that range test, it did indeed significantly outperform the EPA expectations. The word is more than 250 supercharger stalls across 20 locations in Sweden are about to come online. And criminally, some have been fully built since 2023, sitting finished but powerless. The blockade from the end of the sympathy strikes lifts today, and once these sites are connected, it'll boost Tesla's supercharger network in Sweden by more than 20%. And an important fact, over the past few years, more than 90% of staff remained with Tesla through the conflict. The way Tesla's preparing for the Cybercab launch event is probably not the most fair thing to do, but they're saying the more rides you take through August 23rd, the better chance you have at winning an entry. Tesla said 5 winners will be randomly selected and notified on August 25th. And each prize winner has won the right to attend the Cybercab launch event in Austin. And my guess is these 5 winners will each be taking the first 5 rides in a Cybercab on the Robotaxi network in Austin. And just so you know, if you can't take a ride but you want to enter anyway, I'll have the blog post below with the instructions to enter the sweepstakes by mail. And right now there's a fun job listing from Tesla. It's an events manager for Robotaxi, this in Palo Alto. This role will drive the sourcing, development, development, logistics, execution, and optimization of events and campaigns designed to bring Robotaxi and Cybercab to the world. Related but not limited to sourcing and scaling events, creating events, media opportunities, and collaborations. And we just talked about that collaboration between Waymo and the Las Vegas Raiders. So I'm naturally quite eager to see what Tesla has in store for its collaborations. I'm sure most of you have seen the deal where Swedish EV trucking company Einride has agreed to buy 500 Tesla semis. And interesting to note, this is reported on just days after the sympathy strikes have ended. But once again, like we've talked about in the past, this is that freight capacity as a service business. So Einride will hold the assets, the trucks themselves, and then shipping companies get this electric capacity without having to buy the trucks themselves, running the depots, or managing the charging. So Einride has its own AI platform they call Saga, which handles all the routing, the charging, and actually dispatches the fleet. And the expectation is these 500 Tesla semis will be delivered to Einride starting in September of this year, and they're all to be delivered by September 2028, so over the next 2 years. And Einride recently said during its earnings call that these Tesla trucks would triple the deployed fleet from about 250 to 750. And maybe more importantly, they said their 2028 cash flow break-even plan still needs about 1,500 to 2,000 trucks in operation. So this order from Tesla, if things go well, might not be the end of the story. And Einride said these Tesla semis will be available to customers across North America and would help extend the electric freight network to corridors in California, Georgia, New Jersey, and Texas. And before adding this order to the Tesla Semi tracker, we had about 686 verified Tesla Semi purchases, at least publicly. And just a behind the scenes note, I'm porting a lot of my work over to Cursor. So in the next day or two, I should have the Tesla Semi dashboard back up to speed and current. But the point is, this is far and away the biggest order for Tesla semis to date. Touching on the latest in Tesla's Robotaxi world, Ethan McConnell said, "Love Robotaxi, but the pickup and drop-off experience has been pretty bad recently. I'd say around 50% of my recent rides have looping at pickup or drop-off. Has been adding up to 5 to 15 minutes to affected trips. It's unfortunate because otherwise all of my rides recently have been great." Mina shared, "Robotaxi picked a very stupid spot to drop off passengers today. Driving is great, but pickup and drop off have always been weak points. I don't doubt the Tesla team will solve it though." So you can see right there in the middle of an intersection. Another anecdote, Robotaxi navigation routed a 10-minute ride into a 47-minute detour from North Austin all the way to Central South Austin. Remote support could not fix the issue and the ride needed to be ended for a full refund. And that post was originally shared by CyberOwl, which is an account that is positive on Tesla. And her takeaway, Tesla Robotaxi navigation is pretty messed up in North Austin. And Texas Tesla said, "Robotaxi missed my drop off. It glitched out. It zoomed off speeding almost 70 miles an hour onto the tollway. A simple drop off down the street turned into a 40-minute nightmare of non-stop looping." In a weird way for me, seeing these anecdotes is calming because it confirms why Tesla isn't scaling. It's not some unknown reason. It's not really safety critical reasons. It's just the things we've known about that are persistent right now that might be getting worse to some degree. So I think everybody being aware of those anecdotes is helpful to understanding the current situation. But on a more positive note, this video was shared of the Houston Robotaxi lot today with about 97 Cybercabs in the lot. And there were some rumors of a geofence expansion in Houston coming sometime toward the end of August. So between that, the Roadster, the Cybercab event, there are certainly some things to look forward to, potentially. Waymo said the new Ojai vehicle is officially on the road in San Francisco, Phoenix, and LA for all riders. But listen to this, the most recent reporting we have is that Ojai robotaxis cost about $38,000 before import tariffs. After roughly 128% tariffs are applied, that takes the price to $86,500 per unit. Then the hardware and software is equipped, which is estimated to cost around $25,000 per unit to install. So the out-the-door price, if you will, for these Waymo Ojai vehicles is still likely in the neighborhood of $100,000 each. Cybercab will be between $20,000 and $25,000 each. So hear me when I say The scaling might be painfully slow right now for Tesla, but it's fine. Waymo's not going anywhere anytime soon. They're not going to reach profitability anytime soon. One of their Ohio vehicles was just involved in a collision. And I know I've been critical calling out all of the Tesla quirks with the Robotaxi service so we can all be informed, but it's true that Waymo does all of that and then some. So there's no Robotaxi service right now that is operating a flawless service, even at very small scale. So my point is, Tesla has time, it knows it, and it knows it doesn't need to rush. And SpaceX said after about 24 days at sea, the SpaceX recovery team successfully guided Starship to a location just off the coast of Christmas Island. A team of SpaceX engineers is on their way to conduct additional analysis on the vehicle in calmer waters before attempting to return it to Starbase. Tesla stock closed the day at $351.12, up 4.23%, and SpaceX closed the day at $139.65, down 2.57%. This while the NDX was down 0.22%. Don't forget, check out Climatize linked below. I really do think it's an awesome company doing awesome work, and as always, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel in that way. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.